How I became a full-time artist. Let's talk about this. It's probably one of my most asked questions from you guys. So I wanted to make a new video talking about this because it has been a while since I shared my story. This is just my personal experience. Of course, this isn't going to be the way that it works for everybody, but I think it's helpful to be transparent and kind of talk about my own path in the hopes that it will help somebody else on their journey. So first of all, it did take a very long time. It took me about a decade to be able to be fully on my own, just living off selling my artwork. So if you're not someone who wants to spend that kind of time building a career, it might not be the path for you, but let's get into how I started. First of all, I began selling artwork in like coffee shops and bars, and a lot of coffee shops and bars have like rotating schedules monthly, where you can display your work. So a good way to get started showing in public is to do that because it's usually free. You just have to talk to someone who works there, whoever organizes it, and get on a waiting list to do a showing there. And once I started doing that, I saw that people were buying some of the small drawings and things, and that encouraged me to keep going because I was like, oh, this resonates with someone, people are buying my work, let's just keep working at it. I really had no end goal in mind at that point in my career. It was just like, I make stuff and it would be cool to make a little extra cash, and also I would love for people to take my artwork home with them so it's not just sitting around my house. After that, I did start an Etsy store online, and I started selling some little things to like family and friends. And shortly after that, I moved back to Asheville, North Carolina, and I decided to make an Instagram for my artwork, which was my primary social media up until a few years ago. And I started, seeing more people buying things online, and again, that encouraged me to keep going. So I definitely recommend making like a separate art account for your work if you haven't already, and definitely make that public. I see a lot of people who, I don't know if it's on accident or what, but they make an art account and it's private so that strangers can't look at it. One of the things that I adopted early in my career as a mentality was that I just want to show my artwork to as many people as possible. So whether that's social media, getting it at the coffee shop, just getting as many eyes on your work as possible to find the right people who resonate with your work. After I started building my Instagram and already had my Etsy store running, the next thing that I did was to start putting my work in local art galleries. I am fortunate to live in a town that is very artsy, and so there's a lot of like artist collectives where multiple different artists kind of rent space in a gallery, and a lot of people ask how to get into those spaces, and it's actually usually pretty easy. There's usually waiting lists. You just got to talk to the staff there, see about the waiting list, get your name on there, and then see what you're comfortable paying for monthly as far as space. My first space that I rented was $150 a month, and it was in a gallery that wasn't super well trafficked, so I ended up actually not making any money. I ended up pretty much paying rent every month there. I would make a little bit and maybe pay half the rent, but it wasn't worth my time, so I decided to look for a better space, and I took a leap of faith and rented a more expensive, larger gallery space in a busier part of town. That one was $250 a month, and I was really worried that I wasn't going to make enough money there, but it turned out to be really great, and I actually still have my artwork now. It's been like 6 or 7 years. So also finding a gallery that's the right fit for you is very important. So don't be discouraged if your first space doesn't work out. Just keep going. While I was doing all these other things, I was still working a 9-to-5 job that was Tuesday through Saturday. So I wasn't able to do a lot of in-person art markets, but if you do have free time on the weekends, that's also a great way to get your artwork out there. I just started doing art markets this year, and it is a good way to make some extra money and meet new people and get more eyes on your artwork. So I definitely recommend signing up for things like that if you're able to. I waited until I was making as much money on my art business, my side hustle, as I was at my old full-time job before I went down to a part-time job. And I wasn't making a lot of money at my full-time job. It was like a $35K a year job, but I still waited until I was making almost as much money monthly as I was at the job, before going down to a 24-hour-a-week part-time job. And I kept the part-time job for about a year. And basically stashed all the extra money I was making into my savings accounts. So I saved up about 25K before leaving entirely. And after I left that job, I've just been doing my artwork full time. Mainly selling prints is mainly what I make most of my income off of. There are definitely like some months where I'm not sure if I'm going to make enough money at the end of the month. So if you're someone that is going to be really difficult for, not knowing where your income's coming from or if it's coming, it might be a difficult career path for you. But typically by the end of the month, something happens where I'm able to afford it, whether it's making some money at a market or getting a large sale online. Something always comes through, and I do feel that is due to the fact that, you know, I spend the whole month putting in that effort every day. I do work all day, most days. I don't take a lot of days fully off or anything like that. So I feel like all the effort that you put in, even if it doesn't come back to you right away, it will roll in at the end of the month. But if you're not someone that's comfortable with living that way, it's probably going to be pretty difficult for you mentally. But yeah, I still wouldn't trade it for, you know, going back to my 9-to-5 job or anything like that. I don't honestly think that I could at this point. But if you guys have any other questions related to this topic, about anything that I mentioned in this video, please let me know in the comments, and I hope you guys all have the best day ever.